Washington, D.C. is burning, the Capitol building is in flames, and the White House has been reduced to a shell. It's the War of 1812, and the British have scored their greatest victory against the United States, leaving the American capital devastated. I'm on Federal Hill in Baltimore, where on the night of August 24th, 1814, locals saw the light of fire in the sky 45 miles to the southwest. Throughout the war, Baltimore had been the proverbial pain in Britain's naval backside. From here, privateers headed out into the Atlantic to ravage British merchant shipping. So, having humbled Washington, General Robert Ross and Admiral Cockburn decide to make Baltimore pay. The British fleet moves north. The following day, the British advanced within sight of the defenses of Baltimore, and they waited. From Fort McHenry comes the sounds of a bombardment. A fleet of 17 ships is hurling its might at Fort McHenry. There are rockets and shells. From the morning of September 13th and through the night, through the rain, the attack continues. A barrage so intense that on average a bomb a minute explodes over the fort. 1,500 rounds in total, 133 tons of searing metal. Baltimore holds its breath. So does the nation. Then at 7 a.m. on the 14th, the guns fall silent. And at this point, history becomes legend, because watching the attack is a young lawyer called Francis Scott Key. And the only question that concerns Frank is, has the fort surrendered to the British, or is the flag still flying there? Is the Star-Spangled Banner with its broad stripes and bright stars still flying over the home of the brave? Well, as the smoke clears, Frank sees that it is, and he's inspired to write. It's not just any old Star-Spangled Banner that inspires Frank. It's a 30-foot by 42-foot giant garrison flag that Colonel Armistead hoists on the morning of September 14th to cock a snook at the British. The flag was a quarter of the size of a basketball court. And there's a fragment of it here in the house where it was made. Today, this is Baltimore's Flag House and Star-Spangled Banner Museum. And I'm guessing you must be Mary Pickersgill, the lady who made it.
Yes, hello, lovely to meet you. Welcome to my home.
Thank you so much. Wow, this is the fragment. What was the flag made of?
It was made out of English wool bunting, and we actually had to use 400 yards of it. Now, we're here in Baltimore, quite far away from Great Britain, so you can imagine it took quite a bit of time for us to get all that we needed.
It's a huge piece of work. I'm guessing you're not the only person who worked on it.
Actually had my mother, who was a flag maker in Philadelphia during the Revolutionary War, who made flags for General George Washington at that point. And she was the woman to sort of show me how it was done. My daughter, Caroline, also helped me with the sewing of the flag. I had 3 nieces living in the house, as well as a few indentured servants. I like to think that the flag was a community effort as well, as the women in the area also knew what I was doing and came to lend a hand.
It's a wonderful piece of work, and I can see how Francis was inspired to write his poem. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is the earliest known draft of Frank's poem, and it's on display at the Maryland Historical Society. This is probably the best place to come in Baltimore to get an overview of the Siege of 1814, as well as the rest of Maryland's history. It's stuffed with artifacts and mementos. Frank's poem was published within a week, and within a month, it was known all over the country. It was set to an English drinking song. How's that for irony? But it wasn't until 1931 that the Star-Spangled Banner became America's national anthem. Today comes September, and the events of 1814 are remembered as hundreds of reenactors descend on Fort McHenry to relive the British attack. The commemoration is called Defenders' Day. Over 3 days, the story of the defense of Baltimore is retold for a new generation of Marylanders. Cannon and musket fire conjure up the military flavor of the period. Fife and drum recreate its sounds. Rockets and flares bring to life the British bombardment. And above it all, a giant 30-foot by 42-foot star-spangled banner waves to remind observers that our flag was still there. But at the heart of the celebrations are the hundreds of reenactors who put on uniform, set up camp, and actually live the 1812 experience. To the casual observer, this may seem a strange hobby, but it attracts all sorts. Normally, I understand that you'd be reenacting here.
Yeah, usually every year I do come in my colonel's uniform.
Can I ask you on which side?
Oh, on the American side, of course.
Do you think that the war has a particular resonance for Marylanders?
I sure do. I mean, for many, many years, the people of Maryland, the people of Baltimore, referred to the War of 1812 as the Second War of Independence. And because of the role that we played in winning that war, this was actually celebrated, not the 4th of July, but Defenders' Day, September 12th, was celebrated as Independence Day in this part of our country.
I'm guessing you'll be back here reenacting next year.
I sure will.
Defenders' Day, or the Star-Spangled Weekend as it's called, takes place every September on the weekend closest to the 12th to 14th, the actual date of the British attack on Baltimore. It's an annual hit with locals and a great experience for visitors. To be honest, whether you're a huge fan of the War of 1812 or not, it's a fantastic day out.